I want you to look at your clock. Now imagine that exactly 24 hours ago, a country possessed the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East. They had the factories, the underground bunkers, and the production lines to threaten every single city within a 1,000-mile radius. And then, the sky turned to fire. As of this morning, March 13th, 2026, the Pentagon has just confirmed the unthinkable. In a single, relentless 24-hour window, Operation Epic Fury didn't just damage Iran's defense capabilities, it erased them. I was watching the briefing rooms at the Pentagon today when Secretary of War Pete Hegseth walked to the podium. He didn't use the usual military spin. He was direct. He said Iran's defense industrial base is nearing complete destruction. We aren't talking about hitting a few warehouses. We are talking about the total functional defeat of an entire nation's ability to wage war. The precision-guided penetrating weapons launched by US and Israeli Strike Eagles have turned the most secretive underground bunkers in Tehran into tombs for high-tech machinery. They told us this war would be another 20-year quagmire. They told us Iran was a fortress that couldn't be cracked without a ground invasion. They were wrong. This wasn't a slow grind. It was a digital and kinetic decapitation. But as the smoke clears over the rubble of the Isfahan production plants, something much more terrifying is starting to happen. Because when a regime loses its ability to build its future, it becomes desperate enough to burn everything else down with it. Let's break down the data, because the numbers coming out of the Department of Defense right now are staggering. In just 14 days, the coalition has struck 15,000 targets. Think about that. That is over 1,000 strikes every single day. Why does this matter for you? Because the Strait of Hormuz isn't just a geographical location, it's the jugular vein of the global economy. As I stand here talking to you, 20% of the world's oil is trapped. Gas prices are crossing the $100 per barrel mark, and the tension is hitting every American's wallet. But the mission was clear: neutralize the threat before it turns nuclear. Hegseth confirmed today that 100% of the ballistic missile production capacity, the literal factories that build the Fatah and Khorramshahr missiles, has been neutralized. This is a global reset. The leverage that Tehran has held over the world for 4 decades has evaporated in a fortnight of epic fury. But here's the FOMO trigger. While the factories are gone, the missiles in stock are still out there, and rumors are swirling that the Iranian leadership is no longer a leadership at all. It's a group of ghosts hiding in tunnels, and they just issued a final order that has the entire G7 on high alert. What happens in the next 12 hours isn't just about the Middle East. It's about whether we avoid a global blackout. Let's talk about the antagonist of this drama. For years, the world lived in fear of the Ayatollah, but after the recent strikes, the power has shifted to his son, Mojtaba Khamenei. Now listen to what the intelligence is saying. Pete Hegseth didn't hold back today. He described Mojtaba as wounded and likely disfigured following a strike on a command bunker last week. He isn't a leader, he's a wounded animal. And what do wounded animals do? They lash out. Despite his military being in ruins, Mojtaba is reportedly ordering suicide drone swarms to target civilian infrastructure in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. The arrogance of this regime is historic. They are watching their country's future being dismantled brick by brick, and instead of choosing peace, they are choosing a scorched earth policy. They lived in a reality where they thought the US was too war-weary to strike back. They thought a new administration in Washington would be too focused on domestic tariffs to care about the Red Sea. They bet their entire regime on Western weakness. But their downfall was their own hubris. They didn't realize that in 2026, the technology had surpassed their ability to hide. We can see through the mountains, we can hear through the concrete, and Mojtaba is realizing too late that his impenetrable bunkers were actually just high-end coffins. Now I want to take a moment to look at the heroes of this operation, because while we talk about precision strikes and functional defeat, there is a human cost that we can never ignore. Yesterday, we received the heartbreaking confirmation: a KC-135 refueling tanker crashed in Iraq. All 6 crew members, 4 Americans and 2 coalition partners were lost. These weren't combatants in the traditional sense. They were the shield. They were the ones in the sky at 30,000 feet, making sure our pilots had the fuel to get home. Frame their sacrifice for a second. While the elite in Tehran hide in tunnels, our service members are out there, 7,000 miles from home, protecting the world from a regime that wants to see the West in flames. These 6 souls represent the very best of us. They didn't sign up for glory, they signed up for service. And then there are the pilots of the F-15E Strike Eagles. Hegseth praised their laser focus today. They are flying 12-hour missions, dodging anti-aircraft fire, and hitting targets with a precision that was impossible 10 years ago. They are the reason we can say the missile factories are gone without having a single American boot on the ground in Tehran. When you see the gas prices rise, and you feel that frustration at the pump, I want you to remember the 6 names we lost in Iraq. They paid the ultimate price to ensure that the epic fury doesn't turn into a global fire. We are now at the turning point of this conflict. The industrial base is dead, but the economic war is at its peak. The Strait of Hormuz is the world's most dangerous bottleneck right now. Iran has mined the waters and deployed their Mosquito fleet, small, fast boats armed with missiles. They know they can't beat the US Navy in a fair fight, so they are trying to hold the world's economy hostage. $100 oil. That is the number that has everyone in Washington sweating. President Trump has issued an unconditional surrender ultimatum. He told the G7 leaders today that he isn't interested in negotiating with a regime that doesn't have a single factory left to its name. The cliffhanger is this. The US Navy has just been given the order to begin aggressive minesweeping operations. This is the moment where the stray dogs of the Iranian Navy have to make a choice. Do they follow a wounded leader into certain death, or do they lay down their arms? The world is holding its breath. If a single US destroyer is hit, the fury we've seen so far will look like a warming-up exercise. We are seconds away from a full naval engagement that could change the face of global trade forever. And then, the mic drop happened. According to an Axios report that just leaked, President Trump told the G7 leaders during a secure call, they're ready, they just don't know how to say it yet. The chaos in Tehran is absolute, because we've destroyed their communication nodes and their command centers. The mid-level commanders don't know who is in charge. The regime is in a state of uncontrolled spin. They want to surrender, but they don't even have a functioning phone line to call the Swiss embassy. I want to address the architects of terror directly. You spent billions on your missile cities. You spent decades chanting death to America, and in 14 days you've been reduced to a group of men arguing in a basement about which one of you has to go outside with a white flag. The composure of the regime has crumbled. The invincibility of the Revolutionary Guard is a joke. While they were busy making propaganda videos, the coalition was busy making them irrelevant. The surrender isn't just coming, it's already happening on the ground as soldiers abandon their posts. While the bombs were falling, another war was being fought in the wires. The digital battlefront has been the unsung hero of Operation Epic Fury. We didn't just hit them with missiles, we hit them with code. For the last 24 hours, the Iranian radar systems have been seeing ghosts. Their anti-aircraft batteries were firing at empty sky, while our strike eagles flew right over them. This is the new face of war. We are blinding and confusing the enemy to the point where they can't even launch a counterattack. The 1,000 strikes a day are only possible because our cyber commands have paralyzed their response time. And the social media influence, it's over for the regime. The Iranian people are seeing the truth on their Starlink terminals. They are seeing that the great Satan isn't hitting their homes, it's hitting the very factories that have been stealing their country's wealth for decades. The gatekeepers of the old regime have lost control of the narrative. The digital uprising is happening alongside the kinetic one. But we have to be honest, this isn't a video game. There is a moral weight to what is happening. There have been reports of targeting errors. One report out of the Shajara-Tayyibeh area mentioned a school being damaged. While the Pentagon maintains that these are collateral risks of placing military assets in civilian areas, we have to recognize the tragedy of it. The price of peace is always high, but we have to ask, what was the alternative? If we allowed those factories to continue, how many millions would have died in a nuclear exchange? This war isn't about regime change for the sake of it. It's about threat neutralization. It's about ensuring that the American people and the people of the world don't have to live in fear of a missile city buried in the mountains. The moral lesson is clear. Strength is the only thing that deters the darkness. We have shown that we have the laser focus to take out the threat without destroying the nation. We are a people who value life. which is exactly why we had to take out the machines of death. So here is where we stand. The industrial base of Iran is functionally dead. The factories are ruins, the leadership is in hiding, and the world is waiting for the final word of surrender. But don't get complacent. They still have stockpiles. They still have sleeper cells. They want you to think it's over, so you'll stop paying attention. They want you to get distracted by celebrity news while they try to move the last of their assets. Don't let them. If you believe that American strength is the only thing keeping the world from chaos, I need you to share this video. This isn't just news, it's a record of a turning point in human history. Hit that subscribe button and join me as we track every development of Operation Epic Fury. Because as long as the fury continues, I'll be here to tell you the truth. The factories have fallen, the light is coming, and the world is finally waking up.